Welcome, curious minds, to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're taking on a story that has, well, it's captivated, confused, and utterly confounded the public for decades. It's a narrative spun from immense wealth, chilling disappearances, and a man who seemed to just defy the very concept of consequence for an incredibly long time. We've got a stack of sources here, articles, reports, really detailed accounts, all centered around one of the most perplexing figures in recent memory, Robert Durst. Our mission, as always, is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight to help you understand the tangled web of events, the shocking revelations, and, the questions that still hang around this man.
Indeed. And we're going to navigate through some really conflicting narratives, some surprising facts, and moments where, frankly, the line between truth and deception becomes incredibly blurred. The story of Robert Durst isn't just a true crime saga, it's, I think, a profound case study. It touches on the power of privilege, the painstaking pursuit of truth, and maybe some of the blind spots that can exist within our justice system. We'll explore 3 major incidents that really shaped his infamous legacy. We'll try to piece together not just what happened, but why it matters, and what it reveals about crime, wealth, and really the very nature of accountability.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our sources lay out a sort of chronological journey, but it starts in a pretty unexpected place, far from the bustling world of New York wealth. We begin our deep dive in Galveston, Texas. It's a quiet town on the Gulf Coast. Picture this. September 2001. A seemingly peaceful day just shattered by a phone call to the police. A young man reports finding a human torso floating near the beach.
Just horrific, and that's only the start.
Right. When the police arrive, they discover more trash bags nearby, also floating near the shore. Inside these bags, they find the rest of the body, but chillingly, the head is missing. Never found, despite a huge search.
It's a truly gruesome scene. It immediately signals a crime of, immense violence and a very deliberate, calculated attempt to conceal identity, to obstruct justice.
Absolutely. But then, amidst all that refuse, a seemingly tiny detail becomes the crucial thread. It's a torn piece of newspaper.
With a full home address printed right on it.
Exactly. This unexpected clue, found right there amongst the horror, gave the police their first real lead. Following that trail, the address leads police to an old, rundown apartment building in Galveston.
And what do they see right away?
Bloodstains, extending from the front door all the way out to the street.
Wow.
Yeah. This visual immediately signals a violent event, confirming their worst fears about the brutality involved. It was clear this wasn't just a body dump. It was a violent crime scene, meticulously cleaned, but maybe not quite meticulously enough.
What's fascinating here is how quickly a seemingly minor detail, like that torn newspaper, can just pivot an entire investigation. The blood trail, of course, that reinforces the immediate assumption of violence, but it's the methodical nature of the dismemberment and particularly the missing head that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about the killer's intent to obstruct justice right from the very start. It implies a high degree of calculation, a desire to make identification impossible. It suggests a perpetrator who is not only ruthless, but also maybe acutely aware of forensic procedures.
That initial discovery, that tiny detail, really did pivot everything. So with that first crucial lead, what did the police find when they got inside the apartment building itself?
Well, the landlord provided some vital information about the residence. The ground floor tenant, 71-year-old Morris Black, was identified through fingerprints as the victim. It quickly became clear to police that the murder most likely took place right there in his apartment.
Okay, so Morris Black is the victim. What about upstairs?
Then there was the upstairs apartment, rented by an elderly, nonverbal woman named Dorothy Sunner, and she had paid a full year of rent in advance, cash.
A whole year in advance.
Yeah.
For that kind of rundown place.
Exactly. The landlord also mentioned she travels frequently, and this immediately raised a huge red flag for the investigating officers. This is where the initial suspicion really began to shift. You might already be connecting dots here.
Yeah, it sounds fishy.
Right. An officer raised the crucial question, how could a woman who travels so often and clearly has substantial money choose to live in such a rundown apartment? This glaring inconsistency immediately suggested something was just off, that Dorothy Sunner was likely a disguise.
A carefully constructed disguise. It makes sense if you're trying to hide.
A common tactic for those trying to evade detection, and when they checked Dorothy's apartment, almost nothing personal inside. No items suggesting a woman actually lived there.
It's almost like dealing with someone actively creating a false reality. And didn't the landlord mention something else?
He did. Adding to their suspicions, the landlord also mentioned frequently seeing a man coming in and out of Dorothy's apartment. He just assumed it was her brother-in-law.
Which only strengthened the growing theory that Dorothy's sinner was a front, right? A clever disguise for someone else. The search then expanded to the dumpsters outside the building. And this is where the puzzle really started to reveal its missing parts.
What did they find?
Inside, police found two incredibly significant receipts. One for a saw from a hardware store,
Oh, boy.
and another from an optical shop for a pair of glasses. The name on the optical receipt was Robert Durst, along with a pickup date and time.
And this was the first time that name Robert Durst appeared in this whole investigation.
Right. The police, now with a concrete lead, a name, immediately contacted the optical store. They told them, call us if anyone shows up to pick up these glasses.
Setting a trap.
Exactly. A few days later, the call came. Someone walked in asking for the glasses. Officers rushed to the store and arrested the suspect. The sources describe him as a small, frail man who identified himself as Robert Durst.
And the officers were reportedly stunned. They said he looked more like a quiet librarian than someone capable of something this horrific.
It's an immediate visual contradiction, isn't it, compared to the brutality of the crime they're investigating. And inside Durst's car,
Let me guess.
they found a saw, directly connecting back to that receipt they found in the dumpster.
Wow. Okay, so they have him. What was his reaction? This is the part that's always struck me.
This moment is incredibly telling. Informed he was charged with homicide, bail set at a pretty substantial $250,000. Durst's response was just astonishingly calm.
What did he say?
He asked, what am I supposed to do? And when an officer asked if he had the money, he just replied, not on me.
Not on me, like he was discussing pocket change.
Exactly. The police were stunned by his detachment. It's a key early insight into his seemingly unshakable composure in the face of these incredibly grave accusations.
For many, that level of calm, it signals maybe a profound disconnect from reality, or perhaps a severe lack of empathy. Or maybe just a deep-seated, almost pathological belief that he was somehow above consequence. You sometimes see traits like that in individuals from, highly privileged backgrounds who've maybe rarely faced true accountability.
That detachment must have been incredibly unnerving for the officers. And then the next day, investigators learned Robert contacted a woman named Debra in New York.
And she just wired the money.
Wired the money without hesitation. Just like that, bail was covered and Robert Durst walked free.
A man accused of murder and dismemberment just released on bail.
It's a stark illustration, isn't it, of how immense wealth can dramatically alter the immediate course of legal proceedings.
It's not just about covering bail. It's the instant access to top-tier defense, the ability to disappear. It creates a profound imbalance in the justice system for those without those kinds of resources.
This incredibly wealthy, unfazed man, now accused of murder. He quickly became this figure the public really wanted to understand. So let's get to know Robert Allen Durst, or Bob. He was born April 12, 1943, eldest son of Seymour Durst, a huge New York real estate tycoon.
One of the wealthiest families in the city, so immense privilege from the start, a clear path to power.
Absolutely. But from a very young age, Bob experienced this profound trauma, something he claimed haunted him his entire life.
What happened?
At just 7 years old, his mother, who apparently struggled with serious mental health issues, climbed onto the roof of their mansion. Bob recounts his father waking him up to watch her standing there.
Waking up a 7-year-old to watch that.
Yeah. He said he waved to her, went back to bed, and moments later heard the housekeeper screaming. His mother had jumped.
My God, that's unimaginable.
He later described this memory as, indelibly marking him. He said, if you're ever in that position, don't take a 7-year-old to a funeral. It was a disaster.
You can only try to imagine the psychological impact of witnessing something like that at such a tender age. How does an event like that shape a person? Especially their view of life, death, consequence. Does it desensitize them, foster a sense of fatalism, maybe create a distorted perception of control over their own actions and other people's lives? It's a chilling foundation for the life that unfolded.
It truly is a chilling start to a life that would only get more complicated. So fast forward to 1971. Robert meets Kathleen McCormack, or Kathy. She was born in 1952, so nearly 10 years younger than him. And she came from a middle-class background, a real contrast to Bob's upbringing.
And their personalities were different too, right?
Very different. Bob was quiet, reserved. Kathy was cheerful, outgoing, social. Apparently, she was initially charmed by Bob. She said he made her feel like Cinderella.
A fairy tale beginning.
Seemingly. They married in 1973. However, the fairy tale, as they often do in these stories, quickly unraveled. Kathy was very close to her family. Dinners, gatherings.
And Bob wasn't into that.
No. He apparently found them boring, didn't get along with them. Their marriage quickly started to fall apart. Kathy began confiding in family and friends, describing Bob as controlling and abusive. She alleged he would hit her often.
So this isn't just a troubled marriage. It's one marked by palpable fear.
Definitely. She allegedly told someone, "If I don't do what he wants, he'll kill me." Her friend Gilbert remembered Kathy saying, "Promise me that if anything happens to me, you'll look into it. I'm scared of Bobby."
Wow. A direct plea for help if something happened.
And the relationship apparently deteriorated even further when Bob, who vehemently did not want children, allegedly forced Kathy to have an abortion even though she wanted to keep the baby.
The contrast there is stark. Bob's later claims of a normal, if difficult, marriage versus Kathy's journal entries painting him as violent and controlling. It's a classic pattern, isn't it? Individuals operating under a facade, presenting one reality to the public, living a very different one in private.
And that delay in reporting her missing.
The 4-day delay. It immediately raises a critical question for you. What does that tell you about his concern? Or his involvement? Is it just negligence? A profound lack of care? Or is it something far more sinister, a deliberate attempt to gain time, to control the narrative?
That delay is absolutely perplexing, especially given the circumstances. So the night of Sunday, January 31st, 1982, Kathy left their country home in South Salem. She was heading back to their New York apartment for class the next morning. She was in her 4th year of medical school, right on the cusp of this demanding career.
And from that moment, she just vanished.
From that moment on, no one ever heard from her again. 4 days later, Thursday night, Bob reported Kathy missing. His account to the police was this. He claimed the last time he saw her was Sunday evening when he dropped her off at the train station. He said he went back to their country house, had a drink with a neighbor, walked the dog, and then called his wife from a payphone around 11.
Claiming she said she was
fine on watching television. However, there was contradictory information almost immediately.
Like what?
The doorman at their Manhattan apartment later claimed he saw Kathy enter the building that night. And someone from her university also claimed she called Monday morning, saying she was sick and wouldn't attend class.
So conflicting stories right from the start.
Right. That was supposedly the last time anyone ever heard her voice. Then she simply vanished, as if the ground just swallowed her whole.
The inconsistencies are just glaring, aren't they? Bob insists the marriage was fine, yet Kathy's journal depicts escalating violence. His delayed report, coupled with these conflicting accounts about her whereabouts, it paints a vivid picture of, deliberate obfuscation right from the beginning. You have to consider why Bob would construct such an elaborate, yet easily verifiable false narrative if he had nothing to hide. It strongly implies a conscious effort to mislead authorities, control the information flow, maybe establish an alibi right from the start.
And mislead he did. It's almost unbelievable how easily the NYPD seemed to just dismiss the friends' concerns. Kathy's friends relentlessly visited the NYPD, desperate for answers, but officers just waved them off, believing Kathy had simply run off with another man.
Didn't one detective even admit they didn't take it seriously?
Yes, Detective Michael Struck. He admitted they didn't take the case seriously at first. Was this just typical police apathy, or maybe something about Durst's influence? Who knows?
This lack of initial police action is sadly a recurring theme in many missing persons cases, but it's particularly stark here given all the red flags.
So the women took matters into their own hands, checking hospitals, searching lakes, writing train lines, asking passengers. They were determined.
Their dedication really stands in contrast to the initial apathy from the authorities.
At one point, in their desperate search, they even took trash from Bob's country home. And inside,
What did they find?
some of Kathy's personal belongings. An unsettling detail, right? As if Bob knew she wouldn't be coming back. And even more disturbingly, the friends also found a piece of paper with these words written on it. Landfill, bridge, digging boat, other, shovel array, car, van, rental.
Wow. Just like that, like a list.
The chilling implication. Could it have been a list? A blueprint for getting rid of a body? It reads disturbingly like a checklist for disposing of evidence.
It suggests a methodical approach, doesn't it, rather than a panicked reaction?
Exactly. This list, if it was related to Kathy's disappearance, is profoundly disturbing circumstantial evidence. It strongly suggests a methodical, maybe premeditated plan.
And the Durst family's reaction, or lack thereof.
Equally chilling. Kathy's family appealed to Seymour Durst for help, but were met with cold indifference, practically thrown out.
The sources indicate that even though the family seemed to know who Bob really is, Their immense wealth and influence created the shield around him. It allowed them to suppress critical information, effectively do nothing to stop him, prioritizing family reputation and assets over justice. It highlights that profound blind spot where money can literally bury inconvenient facts.
Fast forward 18 years. It's 2000. The cold case suddenly gets a jolt. A man named Timmy Martin, arrested for something unrelated, indecent exposure, asks to speak to NYPD Detective Joe Becerra. He claims to have information about a woman who disappeared 18 years ago in South Salem, Kathy Durst.
Finally, a break.
This tip finally spurs action. The case is reopened under the direction of the district attorney at the time, Janine Pirro. For the very first time, police visit Bob and Kathy's country home in South Salem. It has new owners by now, of course.
But finding anything after almost 2 decades must have been incredibly difficult.
Extremely. Especially because the initial police investigation was, frankly, almost non-existent. Still, they didn't give up. Police began questioning everyone connected to Bob and Kathy, and this leads them to a crucial new figure, Susan Berman.
This reopening was long overdue, wasn't it? A glimmer of hope after years of neglect. You really feel for Kathy's friends who pushed for so long without official support, and the connection to Susan Berman is absolutely pivotal. Susan was born in 1945, daughter of a gangster, David Berman, who died when she was 12. She apparently adored him, saw him as a hero, even kept his mugshot framed.
Interesting background.
So when she met Bob, she perhaps saw in him another powerful man, like her father, someone with money, influence, someone who could seemingly get away with anything. His needing her, his dependence on her, maybe made her feel important, validated. They became very close friends.
And didn't she help him back when Kathy first disappeared?
Yes, this detail of Susan acting as his spokesperson is critical. It implies a deep level of trust and potentially complicity. You have to ask, what makes someone so loyal, so willing to put their own reputation on the line, maybe even become complicit in a cover-up? Perhaps a desire for belonging, a shared sense of being outside the normal rules, or maybe even a twisted form of adoration for someone she saw as powerful and untouchable.
That's a fascinating insight into their dynamic. Susan, being a writer and media savvy, definitely acted as Bob's spokesperson when Kathy disappeared. She was the one who told the media that the doorman had seen Kathy enter the New York apartment on Sunday night.
So with Susan's help, Bob solidified this story, and the public largely began to believe Kathy had returned safely, a narrative that conveniently distanced Bob from her disappearance.
But 18 years later, detectives started to suspect that the woman the doorman saw and the voice on the phone that called the university, maybe they weren't Kathy at all.
They theorized it was Susan actively helping Bob cover up a murder.
That was the theory. And more evidence against Bob's original narrative started surfacing too. Investigators learned Kathy wanted a divorce, and Bob had vehemently refused to settle just the Wednesday before she disappeared.
Motive?
Rumors also persisted that Kathy never even got on the train that night, which directly contradicted Bob's story. And then there were the phone records.
What are them?
2 days after Kathy vanished, calls were made to the Durst organization, charged to the company account from Ship Bottom, New Jersey.
Ship Bottom. Isn't that known for, like, mob body dumping?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And only Seymour Durst and Bob had access to that account. Seymour certainly wasn't in New Jersey.
The implication is chillingly clear. It strongly suggested Bob, perhaps with assistance, was disposing of a body.
Possibly leveraging Susan's family ties, given her connections to organized crime. The question arose, did someone help her get rid of Kathy?
The evidence here increasingly pointed towards a meticulously constructed cover-up. The potential involvement of organized crime, coupled with Susan's willingness to act as a spokesperson and spread a false narrative, it indicated a sophisticated effort to control the story and hide a horrific truth. What's even more telling is the attempt to distance Bob from the scene of the disappearance. If you connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests Bob had a plan, and Susan was a key enabler, perhaps even an active participant in executing it.
So as police started looking for Susan to ask her about all this, she contacted Bob, told him they were asking questions. But before they could actually interview her, December 24th, 2000, Susan is found dead in her small Los Angeles home.
How?
A single gunshot wound to the back of the head, execution style.
Execution style, and the crime scene.
Strangely pristine. The house was modest, furniture mismatched, likely donated. No signs of forced entry or struggle.
Which suggests she knew her killer, let them in.
That's what the police believed, that she knew her killer, let them in, and then tragically turned her back on them. And shortly after the murder, an anonymous letter arrived at the police department.
The cadaver letter.
Right. The envelope addressed to Beverly Hills Police with that peculiar misspelling of Beverly. Beverley. Distinctive.
Inside, the note, 1527 Benedict Canyon Cadaver. This letter is absolutely pivotal, almost a confession in itself, isn't it? The postmark showed it was mailed the day before Susan's body was discovered, meaning the writer knew exactly where to find her and didn't want the body to decompose or go undiscovered for too long.
And the word cadaver.
It's telling, primarily used in the medical field, suggests the sender had some familiarity with medicine or someone in that world, a detail that would later prove incredibly significant.
Right. Investigators initially thought maybe a mafia hit, given Susan's background.
But the letter didn't fit that profile. It felt deeply personal, almost like a direct message to the authorities. This raises an important question. Why would someone, knowing they just committed murder, go to such lengths to ensure the body was found quickly? Was it some strange form of psychological control? A twisted desire for the victim to be discovered by specific people? Or maybe just a chilling display of confidence they'd never be caught?
And to add potential motives, Susan had been struggling financially, months behind on rent. Police found a handwritten list of people who had given her money, including Bobby, who had given her $50,000.
$50,000. Was that hush money? Payment for her continued silence, her complicity?
It's a major question. And despite their supposedly extremely close friendship, Bob did not attend Susan's funeral.
Another telling absence, a deliberate distancing.
Seems likely. Afterward, he disappears again, heading to Galveston, Texas.
Bringing us full circle, back to the Morris Black murder.
Exactly. After posting that significant bail in Galveston for Morris Black's murder, Bob vanished, failed to show up in court.
So he became a fugitive.
Declared a fugitive. A public manhunt began, TV stations broadcasting his face. The media quickly dubbed Bob a master of disguise.
His most infamous being that elderly, mute woman, Dorothy Sinner, the persona he used in Galveston.
Investigators quickly realized he'd been using fake names and identities for years to stay hidden, testament to his elusive nature and, well, his financial resources. But when he's finally caught, it's not some complex, dramatic chase.
How did they get him?
It's almost comically anticlimactic. He's arrested for shoplifting a $5 sandwich from a supermarket in Pennsylvania.
Shoplifting, a sandwich, a millionaire.
People were absolutely stunned. How could a man with endless resources risk everything for such a petty theft?
This detail is truly baffling. It offers such a fascinating window into his psychology. He had, what, $500 in his pocket?
$520 in his pocket and $38,000 cash, plus multiple fake IDs in his rental car.
So no logical financial reason for the theft at all.
None.
It makes you wonder, did he subconsciously want to get caught? Maybe tired of life on the run? Or did he truly believe he was too smart, too clever to ever be caught, even doing something so trivial? Just extreme hubris.
Or maybe some peculiar psychological need to assert control, even in an absurd situation. Or thrill-seeking from someone who'd never really faced consequences.
It remains one of the most puzzling aspects of his entire story.
It's those bizarre details that really make you question everything. So, after his recapture and pleading not guilty, Bob awaited trial behind bars. 2 years after his arrest, his trial for the murder of Morris Black began in Galveston. And it was, predictably, a media sensation.
Newspapers, TV crews everywhere, I imagine, broadcasting every moment.
Absolutely. Bob immediately hired a legal dream team, spearheaded by the renowned Dick DeGuerin.
And their strategy was audacious, wasn't it? Admit the dismemberment.
Admit to the grisly act of dismemberment, but deny the murder itself. It wasn't just throwing money at the problem, it was a calculated gamble.
Redirect the jury's focus entirely onto the definition of murder beyond reasonable doubt. Shift the narrative away from the horrific disposal of the body itself.
When Bob took the stand, he presented this remarkably different version of events, a narrative carefully designed to evoke sympathy. He claimed he went to Texas disguised as Dorothy Sinner because Kathy's case had been reopened, and he couldn't bear to be Robert Durst anymore.
And he blamed the DA, Jeanine Pirro.
Explicitly, said she used the case to boost her political career. His lawyer leaned heavily into this, painting Pirro as this ruthless, manipulative figure, unfairly persecuting a vulnerable man.
You have to remember, this was Texas 20 years ago. That narrative, a vindictive, ambitious woman chasing a man. Regardless of the facts, it played surprisingly well with a conservative jury. It was a strategic move by the defense. deflect, gain sympathy, position Bob as a victim, not a killer.
He also explained the disguise. Said he had to hide, thought becoming a woman was a good idea, and then he had to be mute because his voice would give him away.
He even joked about buying a handbag.
He did. Added a touch of dry humor, said he bought a handbag, and apparently the jurors laughed. Bob, through this carefully constructed performance, came across as frail, misunderstood, almost likable.
Quite a performance indeed.
Yes, his time on the stand was quite a spectacle, carefully orchestrated to humanize him. He described how, as Dorothy, he rented above Morris Black, this older, lonely, irritable man. According to the defense, they became unlikely friends. Bob eventually revealed his true identity, stopped this guys in front of Morris.
And then the accident.
Right. The defense painted Morris as unpredictable, volatile. Bob claimed one day he heard a gunshot from the bathroom. Morris had supposedly used Bob's gun to shoot an eviction notice.
Shot an eviction notice.
That was the claim. Then, on the day of the murder, Bob claimed he came home, found Morris waiting, holding the gun. A struggle ensued, the gun went off, Morris was killed.
Shot in the face.
A struggle, an accidental discharge. That was the story. And then, the chilling logic for the dismemberment. Bob says he sat on the bed and thought, Morris shot in the face, with my gun, in my apartment. He believed if police found the body, they'd immediately link it to him. Wouldn't believe it was an accident.
So his solution was dismemberment.
So, he claimed he decided to dismember the body, bought a saw, cut the body into pieces, put them in trash bags, threw them into the sea. His chilling summary, delivered with that unnerving calm. I didn't kill my best friend. I just dismembered him.
It's a statement that just shows a profound, almost clinical disconnect from the horror of his actions.
The prosecution, of course, presented a very different story. They argued Bob Durst killed Morris Black to cover his tracks.
Believing Morris knew who he was and maybe started blackmailing him, not an accidental shooting.
Exactly. They highlighted crucial contradictory evidence. The body showed signs of serious trauma inconsistent with Bob's story. A neighbor testified hearing 2 gunshots, which Bob couldn't explain. And that eviction notice Morris supposedly shot at.
Let me guess. No bullet holes.
No bullet holes. What's fascinating here is the sheer audacity of Bob's defense, essentially admitting to dismemberment, a truly horrific act, while denying murder. The defense team strategically separated the act of killing from the act of body disposal, a gambit that proved incredibly effective. As the prosecution pointed out, with powerful rhetorical force, you don't dismember a person, bag the parts, and toss them into the ocean if it was just an accident. Detective Cody Cazalis, who investigated, stated his unwavering belief that Bob disposed of the head because it would have shown Morris was shot from behind.
But he couldn't prove it without the head.
Right. Can I prove it? Not without a head. It's the ultimate piece of missing evidence, leaving that crucial gap in the prosecution's direct proof. The defense, however, with DeGuerin leading, masterfully insisted Bob wasn't being judged for what he did to the body, but for whether or not he killed Morris.
Hammering home that reasonable doubt standard.
Exactly. They reminded the jury, time and again, if you think he might be guilty, or it's possible that he's guilty, he's not guilty, the verdict must be beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
After 6 weeks of testimony, it was time for the jury to decide. And after intense deliberation, to the shock of many,
The verdict.
not guilty, Robert Durst walked free.
Unbelievable. After admitting dismemberment.
One juror reportedly stated she felt Bob was being honest when he testified, believed his narrative of a struggle and accidental shooting. It's an astounding outcome, infuriated victims' advocates. Bob's lawyer, Dick DeGuerin, made a rather provocative statement afterwards, really highlighting that intersection of justice and wealth.
What did he say?
He commented, some people are found guilty even though they're innocent, and others get away with murder just because they can afford a solid defense. That's capitalism. Some drive a Cadillac, others settle for used cars.
Wow. Blatantly acknowledging the disparity.
The verdict, as you can imagine, shocked the public. Newspapers, talk shows, even comedy shows just tore into the decision, mocking the trial, mocking the justice system. It seemed unimaginable.
That a man who confessed to dismemberment could walk free.
Years later, Robert Durst re-emerged into the public consciousness in a really unexpected way. 2010, filmmaker Andrew Jarecki releases a fictionalized film, All Good Things. Stars Ryan Gosling as Robert Durst, Kirsten Dunst as Kathy McCormack. It covers their relationship, her disappearance, Susan Berman's murder, the killing of Morris Black.
And Durst saw it.
He saw it. And then, with almost unbelievable audacity, contacted Jericho with an unexpected offer.
What was the offer?
He said, I recently watched your movie. I think you're the right person to talk to. What if I gave you an interview?
He offered an interview after a movie portrayed him as likely guilty?
Exactly. Jericho, sensing this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, was thrilled, saw it as a gift, immediately planned a documentary series centered on this unprecedented interview. They met. The first interview began. Bob calmly described his life, the accusations, steadfastly denied involvement in Kathy's disappearance, Soden's murder, Morris Black's death.
But Jericho pushed him, right?
Oh, yeah. Jericho's skilled interviewer knew where to push. He asked about the infamous cadaver letters sent after Susan's death. Bob responded with that chilling calm, seemingly unaware of the trap he was walking into. Only the killer could earn that.
A bold and incredibly self-incriminating claim, considering what was about to be discovered.
While producing the documentary, Jericho's team uncovered crucial evidence. Evidence that changed everything, brought long-suppressed truth to light.
What did they find out?
They found out that after Kathy's disappearance, Robert's father, Seymour Durst, had hired a top attorney, Nick Scapetta.
Who then hired a private investigator.
Right. A retired detective, Ed Wright. Wright's detailed report noted significant inconsistencies in Bob's story and, crucially, stated that the doorman at Kathy's building never saw her return that Sunday night.
A direct contradiction to Bob's carefully constructed alibi.
Exactly. And the truly shocking part. The Durst family, with their immense resources and influence, never shared that report with the police.
Suppressing vital information. Information that could have dramatically altered the investigation from the start.
It's a prime example, isn't it, of how deeply privilege can infect the pursuit of truth. A blind spot where money literally buries inconvenient facts.
But the revelations didn't stop there, did they?
No. A key witness appeared. Susan Berman's stepson. He contacted the production team saying, I have something you need to see.
And what did he have?
He showed them a letter, addressed to Susan from Robert Durst. The envelope had the exact same misspelling of Beverly Hills as the cadaver letter.
No way.
And the handwriting was undeniably the same.
That's it, the smoking gun.
This, for Jericho, was the moment everything changed. It was irrefutable. This is where it gets really interesting. Jericho knew this discovery changed everything. He desperately tried to get a second interview with Bob.
But Bob vanished again, sensing the walls closing in.
Disappeared, avoiding him completely, as was his pattern. Then an unexpected opportunity arose. Bob was caught on security cameras at his brother Douglas's house. Douglas filed a restraining order. Bob was arrested for violating it, but released on $5,000 bail.
How did that help Jericho?
Crucially, he now needed Jericho because Jericho had filmed Bob outside Douglas's house for the documentary, and Bob wanted to use that footage for his defense in the restraining order case.
Ah, leverage.
Jericho saw a unique opportunity, a window he had to exploit. He pressured Bob into a second interview. With no real choice, trapped by his own legal issues, Bob accepted.
So the second interview, Jericho confronts him directly.
Played hardball. Showed Bob the letter from Susan's stepson. The exchange was tense, direct. Bob, did you write this? Yes, definitely. What do you notice? It has the same misspelling as the cadaver note and a similar handwriting style. Did you write the cadaver note?
No. Still denying it.
Jericho then showed him just two isolated words from both letters, Beverly Hills. Can you tell me which one you wrote? Bob, visibly uncomfortable, replied, no.
The interview came to an end, a seemingly inconclusive confrontation. But the most unbelievable moment was yet to come.
This is truly mind-boggling.
Yeah.
One of those moments TV producers only dream of. The interview concluded, cameras stopped rolling, but Bob, getting up to use the restroom, entirely forgot his microphone was still on.
The hot mic moment.
The infamous hot mic moment. As he spoke to himself, what he said was absolutely jaw-dropping.
What did he say? Recount it.
There it is, you're caught. You're right, of course, but you can't imagine. Arrest him. I don't know what's in the house. Oh, I want this. Total disaster. He was right. I was wrong. And the burping. He actually burps. I have trouble with the question. What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course.
Killed them all, of course. Just like that. An admission.
This involuntary, unscripted monologue provided evidence Jericho never imagined getting. He immediately handed everything over to the authorities, the footage, the interview, and, crucially, that stunning audio. February 2015, Andrew Jericho releases the 6-part documentary, The Jinx, captivates audiences worldwide. Robert Durst watched every episode from his Houston home, seemingly enjoying the attention, even talking openly to reporters, basking in the newfound notoriety.
Almost reveling in it, until
Episode 5. The documentary finally revealed Bob's letter to Susan Berman, compared side by side with the cadaver note. Made the connection inevitable, undeniable. Bob washed. Realized the tide was turning against him, irreversibly so, and as he had done many times before.
When the pressure rises, he disappears.
Exactly. Police immediately launched a search, starting with his building. Security footage revealed Donna, Bob's housekeeper, appearing off schedule with her husband, Chris Lavelle.
And here's the incredible twist.
Chris Lavelle was a juror in Bob's murder trial for Morris Black. He had voted to acquit him.
A juror who acquitted him is now helping him clean out his apartment.
When police raided Bob's apartment, it was spotless, like an operating room. Not a single clue left behind. Further footage showed Chris and Donna had made multiple visits, each time carrying out various items.
A deliberate, meticulous cleanup operation, removing potential evidence.
Bob didn't get far this time. He was found at a hotel in New Orleans, arrested by the FBI, charged with the murder of Susan Berman. Among his personal items, agents found an expensive latex mask, clearly intended for yet another disguise.
His plan was to flee, maybe to Cuba.
That seemed to be the plan, but this time his luck finally ran out. Robert Durst was arrested just one day before the final explosive episode of The Jinx aired.
The timing was almost unbelievably precise, a perfect, dramatic conclusion to the documentary that had unraveled his lies.
The preliminary hearings for Susan Berman's murder began in 2017. These are the pre-trial sessions, determining if there's enough evidence. The trial itself started in 2020.
And he hired DeGuerin again, the lawyer who got him acquitted for Morris Black.
Bob, as expected, hired Dick DeGuerin again, trusted him completely. DeGuerin assembled another powerful legal team, costing an astronomical $12 million.
Another stark reminder of the influence of wealth in the justice system.
From prison, Bob made phone calls seeking support. The trial for Susan's murder inevitably brought back the unresolved case of Kathy's disappearance. The prosecution argued Susan had helped Bob cover up Kathy's disappearance. And when police reopened that case, Bob feared Susan would finally talk.
So he killed her to ensure her silence. That was the prosecution's core theory, connecting all the dots.
Exactly. And the key testimonies really brought this theory to life.
Like Susan's close friend.
Yes. She testified Susan had confessed to helping Bob hide what happened to Kathy. A direct admission of complicity.
And the university professor,
No.
the one who got the call from Kathy.
He testified he was not sure it was really her voice, casting significant doubt on Bob's original alibi. Other friends described Susan as financially struggling, mentioning Bob was coming to visit, hinting at that potential financial motive for her loyalty.
But maybe the most impactful testimony came from Nick Chavin.
Nick Chavin, a close friend of both Susan and Bob, knew Bob for decades. Initially disbelieved Bob's involvement, but doubts grew. He was offered protection to testify, appeared visibly afraid in court. On the stand, he recounted a 2014 conversation. He directly asked Bob about Susan.
And Bob's reply?
Bob replied coldly, "I had to do it. It was her or me. I had no choice."
A chilling admission, justifying murder as self-preservation.
The defense tried desperately to discredit Nick, presenting earlier statements where he just described Bob shrugging. But the impact of that direct quote was undeniable. And then there was the testimony of Stuart and Emily Altman, two more of Bob's closest friends. The defense fought hard to keep them away.
Understanding the damage they could inflict.
Prosecutors secured their testimony. Stuart, a lawyer, said little. Professional discretion. Emily, however, was less guarded. In a tense exchange, she revealed something critical. A detail placing Bob directly at the scene, despite decades of denial.
What was it?
Bob had told her that at the time of Susan's murder, he was in Los Angeles, staying at the Beverly Hilton.
But he'd always denied being anywhere near L.A. at that time.
Exactly. The courtroom fell silent. This detail changed everything. It provided a direct, incontrovertible link, placed him precisely where he had always claimed he wasn't.
It's also important to remember that marriage between Bob and Deborah Caratan in 2000, right when Kathy's case was reopened, just before Susan's death. Police strongly believed Bob married Deborah so she could handle his finances and, crucially, be protected from testifying against him. Spousal privilege.
Deborah is described by sources as cold, calculating, a seemingly transactional relationship. During a sworn deposition much later, she was asked some incredibly blunt questions.
What were they? They paint quite a picture, don't they?
They really do. When you started dating Bob, did you know his wife had gone missing?
Yes.
When his friend was murdered, did you stay with him? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When he dismembered his neighbor, did you stay with him? Yes.
Yes.
Is there any crime he could commit that would make you leave? I don't know. Was it worth it staying with him? I think so.
I think so. Chilling. It paints this stark picture of a relationship where financial security just seemed to outweigh any moral qualms or personal safety concerns. A profound level of complicity. There are also those recorded calls, not confirmed as trial evidence, where Debra urges him to hate his brother. He stole your birthright and he's doing everything to destroy you. Bob replies, I was going to, and Debra cuts him off. Don't say it, I know what you're going to do.
Chilling glimpses into the depth of their dynamic, their shared understanding.
And his last known movements before Susan's murder also strongly pointed to his involvement. Traveling to Trinidad, California around December 19th, his phone stopping transmission for days.
A common tactic to evade tracking.
Then December 23rd, buying a plane ticket from San Francisco to New York. The very next day, Susan's body was discovered.
After all this compelling testimony, despite his formidable defense team, Bob made the astonishing decision to ask to testify again in 2020.
Why would he do that after everything?
Who knows? He was 77, frail, thin, sick. This was the Bob the jury saw, a seemingly vulnerable old man. Guided by his lawyer, he was portrayed as sympathetic, talked about his childhood, even claimed to have played Uno and Frisbee on the beach with his parents, lamented how life was never fair to him.
And his revised account of Susan's death.
When questioning turned to Susan, he claimed they had plans to meet December 22nd, spend the holidays, go to Disneyland even, said when he arrived at her house, knocked, no answer, so he used his own key and found her dead.
And his explanation for her death this time.
His version was, I thought she had fallen, hit her head, that's how she died. Then he admitted, I wrote the cadaver note, sent it to the police. No one would believe me, that's why I kept it secret.
So now he admits writing the note, but claims he found her already dead from a fall.
Precisely. But the prosecution worked relentlessly to dismantle any sympathy, meticulously picking apart his narrative, exposing the lies.
Like the Frisbee and Uno story.
Exactly. They asked Bob if he played Frisbee on beach with his mother, if he could picture it. He said yes. Then they delivered the devastating blow. His mother died in 1950. Frisbee wasn't invented until 1957. Uno until 1971.
Caught in an obvious fabrication.
Bob had to admit no. They can't be real memories. This exposure immediately undermined his credibility, revealed his willingness to lie under oath about even trivial details.
And Susan's calendar.
They highlighted that Susan, known to document everything, had no mention of a holiday with Bob. In fact, she'd written she planned to call him the day after she was killed.
Wow, directly contradicting his story again.
The prosecutors challenged him directly, a pivotal exchange. Did you kill Susan Berman? No. If you had killed her, would you tell us? No.
That final exchange perfectly highlighted his capacity for deception. His chilling honesty in his dishonesty, as some put it, confirmed he would never admit the truth.
In 2021, 20 years after Susan Berman's murder, 6 years after Bob's arrest, the jury finally reached a verdict: guilty. Robert Durst was found guilty of killing Susan Berman.
Finally, justice for Susan.
Due to COVID-19, Bob was in isolation, not present in the courtroom. Shockingly, none of his attorneys informed him of the verdict.
Seriously, his own lawyers didn't tell him.
The only person who did was the lawyer representing Debra Cheriton, Bob's wife, who hadn't attended a single day of the trial.
Further emphasizing the cold, transactional nature of that relationship.
Bob was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On January 10, 2022, just over a year after his conviction, Robert Durst died from cardiac arrest in a prison hospital.
So he died in prison. But what about the conviction?
Because he passed away before filing an appeal, the conviction is technically nullified. In the eyes of the law, it's as if it never happened.
A final infuriating twist. Legally, he died an innocent man of that crime.
Technically, yes. Meanwhile, Kathy's family had already filed a civil lawsuit against Bob, seeking $100 million in damages, hoping for some form of financial justice. In 2015, Bob's net worth was estimated at $100 million. But after the lawsuit, Debra declared his entire estate amounted to just $100,000, with debts over $250,000.
Where did all the money go?
The truth emerged from recorded conversations between Bob and Debra. They explicitly agreed the money should be spent, hidden, transferred, so none of it ever reached the McCormack family.
A final, calculated act of defiance, weaponizing wealth, even from behind bars. If we try to connect this to the bigger picture, Detective Cody Cazales, who investigated the Morris Platt case back in Galveston, he offered this powerful, chilling conclusion that really encapsulates much what we've discussed today. He said, "There's no doubt in my mind Bob killed at least 3 people. His wife, his friend, and his neighbor. I don't believe Robert Durst kills for pleasure," Cazales added. "I don't think it excites him. But if you
Yeah.
back him into a corner, if you threaten his freedom, he will kill you.
Threaten his freedom and he kills. A chilling conclusion to a life defined by privilege, murder, and decades of evasion. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the life and alleged crimes of Robert Durst. What a complex, often contradictory figure he was. A man who consistently eluded justice for decades, almost until the very end.
Indeed. His story is a chilling reminder, isn't it, of how privilege and immense influence can intertwine with crime, and how elusive justice can be, even with seemingly overwhelming evidence. You have to consider the persistent role of wealth in enabling such prolonged evasion. The ability to hire top lawyers, to disappear at will, to meticulously manipulate narratives and assets. It really exposes the inherent vulnerabilities in our legal system when confronted with such resources.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this exploration has provided you with a clearer understanding of the facts and, well, the enduring questions surrounding Robert Durst's chilling legacy. Until next time, keep digging, keep questioning, and stay curious.